Okay, for our next tutorial, we are going to work on a technique called overlapping text with an image. I'm going to use a photograph of one of my kids. I'm going to drag that photograph right into Photoshop, and that's going to pop up, and we're going to see his picture and a pretty blurry background. There wasn't a lot going on around him. He was just by himself, and then I focused in on him, which blurred out the background, which actually will make this tutorial a little bit more simple, so that the pen tool can recognize differences between the foreground and the background, or the magnetic lasso tool can recognize differences between the foreground and the background. Notice that like with all other tutorials, I'm not going to read the tutorial, but I'm going to go through here and kind of simplify the tools that we're going to use for each process. So we've drug our photo of good quality, a high quality photograph, into Photoshop, and it's opened a new document. Now we're going to go over here and we're going to go to the horizontal type tool. Of course, that's our T, or you can hit the letter T. My son's name is Cooper, and I've already got a pre-selected font called Cooper. But actually, I think I want to grab something a little different. Let's choose. We could choose any number of things. Let's look at. Of course, I think a thicker font kind of works nice for this assignment. I'm going to do the Sandman. I like this one. We've actually used this for jerseys that we've made in the past for basketball teams. Okay, I'm going to put that here. And for this, I'm going to use his name. I had kind of planned on just putting his name behind him. The name of his team is Rascals, but that's right there already in the image, so we'll just go with Cooper. I'm going to hit the Move tool, and then I'm going to hit Command-T because I want to transform the Cooper layer. I'm going to drag it and make it a little bit bigger, and that's because that font's going to travel behind him. So actually, I'm going to position it right there, and I know it's going to cut off that P, but I think that that's my best option, and it might end up looking like 3 O's. But let's just stick with this for now. Okay, so I'm going to hit Enter to select that. I'll come over here. Notice that it's telling you to make a new type tool, which we did. And so ours says Cooper. I'm going to go back. I'll title just to keep things making sense. I'll title this background, okay? And now we look exactly like this tool. Okay, also what they've done already on their font tool is they come back over here. We're going to go to FX, and we're going to go to Bevel Emboss. And they've done that with the baseball example, and they've affected it, and they've added some different things. I'm not even sure. I've added a few layer styles to give the text a bit more design. They didn't even explain this, they just did it. So it's not listed in the tutorial. So you come over here, you're on your layer for your word, you go down to FX, which we did. I kind of like Bevel Emboss. For certain things it works kind of cool. So I think we'll leave that Bevel Emboss. And they've chosen different colors. I actually think mine is going to work. Let's choose a dark green, or one of these dark greens here. Let's pull out a color from the photo. White as my font color, but for my my Bevel Emboss and for the shading, let's grab one of these dark greens. I think that actually kind of makes it a little more earthy, kind of makes it go a little bit better. We could even add a stroke. And again, let's come down here and let's grab one of these colors for that stroke. Oh, that's not doing it. Excuse me. I need to make sure that's highlighted purple. Click here, and then I can grab that stroke color. And it's still pretty dark. Let's grab a lighter green color. I think I like that. And so let's say okay to that. It's really subtle. The stroke around there is very, very subtle. So actually, I want to soften that up a little bit. So let's bring the opacity down just a smidge. Well, about halfway. Okay? And any one of these could be effects that you can apply. You can play around with this. Remember, you're not changing anything until you're actually on purple. and this item is selected. Okay, so bevel emboss, I've got a bevel emboss with a contour, and I've got a stroke. And you can see I've changed my color, I've changed my opacity. The size was at 13 already, I left that. The contour, I can affect this, and it'll make it more bubbly, more rounded. I kind of like about, for this one, I think I like it about there. And also the same with the bevel emboss. All of these you can affect and change. So let's say okay. So now we've got the word Cooper with our effects already applied to it, just as they did here. We're going to move down and we're going to select the background layer. Okay, so now we're working strictly with the football photograph, and we're going to go back to the Cooper layer and turn the eyeball off. So I'm not going to see Cooper, the word Cooper, I'm going to turn it off. So now I'm just on my background layer. Okay, now on that background layer, we're going to use the magnetic lasso to trace the area that we need to cut out for Cooper. So if I turn this back on real quick, my font is coming across, we could say down here his waist, up here around his shoulder, around his head and neck, other shoulder, and arm. This is the area that I need to focus on for him, for cutting him out. Same with this baseball player. They have the whole body of the baseball player, but they only needed to worry about cutting out this part right here. So again, I'm going to turn the eyeball off on Cooper, and I'm going to hit Command plus so that I can zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to use for this technique, there are some different options. Some people use the lasso tool. Some people use magnetic lasso. Some people use pin. Some people might even use other things. I prefer, for this example, the magnetic lasso. So I'm going to come back over here. Magnetic lasso, if you're on a double toolbar, you're going to come over here, second one on the left. You're going to hold it down. You're going to go to magnetic lasso. You see a magnet over a lasso. So I like to use this one. This is just preference. Okay. Ooh. Okay. What I'm working towards here is clicking around on Cooper's body until I make an enclosed shape in the area that I want to make for my shape. So I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to click. I'm going to go slowly. The magnet is going to pick up the pixel changes on Cooper. It's got some hair sticking out there, and it's going to pick that up. It's pretty smart. It grabs these different sections. I'm going to do some little small clicks to get around his little ear. And this is a time-consuming process, and you have to be very patient. And you're clicking. You can see I've got all these little points that I've made. Sometimes, oh, the mouse moved on me. I'll try to go right back to that. I tried to click right back on the pin on the previous point. Oh, and it took that one funny. I'm going to slide down here. I may have to redo this based on how that looks when I'm done. Now, I'm going to slide straight across because I didn't need his whole self over there. I didn't need to go past his waist. This is, it's still picking up even though it's pretty subtle because his skin next to that light green is kind of similar, but it's recognizing it. Hair is kind of tough. That is going to be, you know, the best you can do. Okay, now I've got an area that is marching ants. I want to come over here. I'm going to check something out real fast. No. I'm going to click on Refine Edge, and I'm going to make some adjustments. Okay? So there was a button up here that said Refine Edge, and I clicked on it. I am going to choose Smart Radius because what I want it to do, this is not on your tutorial. This is only me talking about it. I'm going to soften the edge. Do you see that? It softens the edge of what I did to my outline. What's nice about that is any boo-boos that I made are not going to be as obvious. I'm going to smooth it also. I actually think that is going to work perfectly. You can see where I had some of those boo-boos here. It's really fixed that. Now, I have never used Refine Edge for this tutorial because that's a new setting in Photoshop 6, but we're going to try it. So I'm going to say okay. Now, I'm going to go back to zoomed in a little bit. I'm going to hold down Shift, and I need to grab an additional section out of the picture that I forgot about. Oops. Okay, I'm going to have to do that separately. Okay, back to your tutorial. After you've selected him, I'm sorry, we come back over here. I've got my marching ants. I need to Command copy, and watch over here. You're on the background layer, and you make a new layer right there. Command V. Notice I got him separate right there. Okay, he is separate right there. I've copied him, and I've copied from the layer. I've copied my marching ants selection of him. Now I'm going to go to the move tool. I moved my photograph, and that's not good. We need to go back to, we need to move both of these. I don't know how I did that. I slid it around on my mouse. If I move one layer and not the other, they won't line up, they won't be in the same place, and they won't do the technique that we want it to do. Now, this layer needs to be above this layer. Okay. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to turn off this layer. I'm going to zoom in on him. I need not to move him, but I'm going to go back to the magnetic lasso. Your photo probably may or may not have this extra step that you need to take. I need to get this little part out. All I'm doing is selecting it and cutting it out. And this guy right here is even smaller. I'm going to grab that and cut that out and get this little bit and cut that out. For that, I used the magic wand tool. Okay, so that's another option. Go back here, go back to straight, and let's turn both these guys on. If I had moved him, I would see a double vision here. And I know that he's lined up correctly because I don't see that. Now, the very last thing that you do, and this is the super easy part, you turn Cooper back on, you click blue, and you put this between the layers. And there you go. Now you have an overlapping image, an overlapping text with an image right there on your photo. Now, people that know who this is, my friends and family would know that that says Cooper. I know that the P is kind of cut off. I still think it looks pretty cool. I cut out his whole head, so I could actually arrow this up and down and around a little bit and play with it. Maybe I can see how far I can get. I think we'll go back to the original. Let's bring it back down. Notice if I play with it too much, I'm just using the arrows, left, right, up, down arrows. If I go too far, watch what happens. That's a little bit strange, but that's what happens because my cutout was only to his waist. So remember, your cutout has to work with this process. Okay, and again, as always, I'm going to come back up here, File, Save As. This is your 4th assignment this semester. Make sure that whatever semester you are in, that I have assigned this as your 4th assignment. Otherwise, you would title it with the appropriate number. So last name hashtag the number of the assignment, PSD. It is a Photoshop document. It's going to my desktop, and I will save it. And there it is. Now, I'm going to take, always remember to take that project and turn it into your server. Remember, it is not turned in until it is on the server. I hope this was helpful to you for overlapping text with an image, and thank you for listening. Bye.